like all of Jennifer. The Wrath of Jody. Jennifer is a classic. Yeah. Jennifer is like Canadian, right? She was in like Markham or whatever. My God.
What makes the case of Jennifer Pan unique among others in the true crime genre is the overabundance of raw footage freely available in the public domain. There is over 11 hours of material that not only recounts her entire life in meticulous detail, but gives us considerable insight into her psychopathological state. Jennifer herself will narrate her own story in this video, which is the reason the following lead-up segment will be condensed, as a brief outline is all that is needed before delving into the extraordinary mind of this individual. Jennifer was born in Markham, Ontario, where she was raised with her older brother in a middle-class household. Her parents, Beek and Han, were originally from Vietnam, and their method of parenting was strict, very strict, what some might even class as authoritarian. Success and achievement from their children were seen as outright obligations, whether it be in academics or extracurricular activity. And some might argue these expectations took precedence over the well-being of the children themselves. Jennifer initially took the imposed pressure in her stride and put everything she had into figure skating. She had exceptional talent, and at one point was expected to compete in the Winter Olympics. But she suffered a serious knee injury at the age of 14 and was told she could no longer compete. Her dreams were cut short. But of more concern was that her parents' expectations now had to be met through the more traditional route of education. And the issue was that Jennifer wasn't anywhere near as academically gifted as she was athletic. She was averaging a C- when her parents wanted straight A's. So rather than communicate with them, she decided to meet their expectations under false pretenses and began faking her test results. This led to her faking her end-of-year report cards, which eventually led to her faking a high school diploma, and then a university acceptance letter to study pharmacology. In the abstract world of her parents, Jennifer was on her way to a noble and well-paid career in medical health care, when in reality, she was a high school dropout living with her drug dealer boyfriend, whom she had been dating in secret for almost 8 years. She was eventually found out in 2010 when her parents discovered she had been living a double life, and was then given an ultimatum. At 24 years old, she had to choose between one of two options. Option 1 was that she had to live at home under a strict regime, cease all contact with her boyfriend, and only leave the house to go back to school and pursue an education. Option 2 was that she could do whatever she wanted, but she would then be disowned from her family. She could never return home, and all financial support would cease immediately. Jennifer evidently decided neither option would suffice.
Why didn't she just choose the second option, though? Like, she wasn't doing anything at home anyways, and she was lying, so why didn't she just do the second one?
So she created option number 3. She had her boyfriend arrange a mock home invasion where 3 of his acquaintances
her boyfriend's
would enter
a drug
the Pan
dealer. Are you
household
telling me he doesn't make any money?
gone wrong. The 2 instructions were to first ransack the home and then murder the parents. The planned date was Monday the 8th of November, with the scheduled time being roughly 11 p.m. Jennifer would unlock the front door, and 3 figures were caught on a neighbor's surveillance camera entering the home at 11:05. They were then seen running out just under 18 minutes later. It was at that exact time 911 received a call from the same household.
Oh, God.
Beek Pan was shot twice, once in the neck and once in the head. She was killed immediately. The father, Han, was also shot twice, once in the shoulder and once in the face. He astonishingly survived and was put into an induced coma once he arrived at the hospital. Jennifer was taken to the same hospital as a precaution, but was soon cleared of injury. She sat by her father's bedside for roughly 3 hours before she was taken to the Markham police station to give a statement as a witness.
Form of fear. Or maybe it was just she felt bad.
I want to go through a form with you. It may seem kind of, why you're doing this, but this is
acting.
It's like you're swearing to tell the truth about what you're going to talk to me about, and it's also going to explain to you the penalties for not telling the truth. I don't expect you to help me, but for a homicide investigation, anyone who's very close to the investigation, we do this with. Okay, so this isn't suspecting that you're not going to tell the truth. This is more of a feature that you understand the importance of telling the complete truth.
Jennifer is not a suspect at this moment. She is only giving a voluntary statement under oath. She has not read her right to silence, but instead informed of her rights as a witness. She is basically told that fabricating evidence with the intent to mislead is an offense. After reading the notification off paper, the detective gives Jennifer a more human explanation of the instruction.
What I've just explained to you is you're here voluntarily to help us, that you don't have to talk to us if you don't want to, but the importance of talking to us, and if you're talking to us, the importance of telling the truth. And if you don't tell the truth, there's criminal consequences for not telling the truth. That's all that stuff had to deal with. Okay?
The investigator then leaves to get the Commissioner of Oaths, which is for the purpose of swearing in the witness, but he first brings in a box of Kleenex. This is universally recognized as getting startled, yet the official term in neurophysiology is the startle reflex via auditory stimulus. Hyperarousal from a traumatic event can often exaggerate this response in a manner similar to how Jennifer reacted to the sound of the door.
+1.
Hello, my name is Andrew Spiro. I'm a Commissioner of Oaths with York Regional Police. I'm here so you can give a truthful statement, either by solemn affirmation or swearing on the Bible. Which do you prefer?
Swearing on the Bible.
Okay, just put your hand on the Bible. Do you, Jennifer Pan, swear that the evidence you shall give on this investigation shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Once Jennifer is sworn in, the lead investigator returns to collect the statement.
Now I want you to sort of take yourself back to earlier on today, yesterday, meaning the 8th of November, and tell me about your day. Okay, start at any point in time.
The world's greatest
wherever you feel comfortable, and then we're gonna move. We're gonna move forward. Okay.
Yesterday, probably around 9 o'clock in the morning.
Saw the time on the left and thought Wendy was doing another subathon.
She woke me up and she told me
That's
that
a
she
good
was
one.
going to visit my grandfather.
Throughout the day, Jennifer explains that she practiced
Oh, I'm
piano,
getting so many
studied
subs. I'm getting
piano
so many
history,
subs.
talked on the phone
Oh,
with her
the subs,
friends,
the subs.
and had dinner
Look at
with
my
her
timer
parents.
go up.
Her mother left for
Woo!
line dancing at
Getting
8 p.m.
rich
and
today.
returned home at about 9:30,
All
at
the
which time
subs,
Jennifer was
woo!
alone in her room watching TV,
Hell
ready
yeah.
to go to sleep.
And then
Oh, no more subs.
suddenly I just
Damn
heard
it.
my mom calling for my dad to come down. And that's when I lowered the volume on the TV. And I could hear the voices weren't any voices I was very familiar with. And so I was scared and I couldn't move. I just sat in my room for a while. And then
She's
I
too
thought I heard
calm.
them leave the top floor, and I peered out of my bedroom door. And a guy was there, and he came at me and had string in his hands and tied my arms back and said, "I have a gun behind your back."
Isn't
Do what
she
I
like
say,
way
do
too
what I
calm?
say, and no one will get hurt.
So
Here's
she
the
thinks for
money,
the
show me
7 months.
where
If
your money
I
is.
was like,
My mom kept trying to get up.
if I
And I
was
kept
trying to
telling her,
recollect something this
"Sit down."
traumatic, I would be
And so,
tears
they were trying to
and
get her,
stutter
telling her
and
to sit down.
tears and like,
They were trying to find her wallet.
there's no way.
but she,
I can't
her
tell
English
something
speaker, so she
like
kept saying
this.
first. They kept pushing her down onto the chair.
Really?
Okay. Take your time. Take your time. All this is very important, so take your time.
Jennifer's nonverbal communication up to this point has made sense, and the reflection of her mother's last moments seems to push her over the edge. It could be assumed the detective still considers Jennifer a victim at this moment, but in the next moment, he will start becoming
What's that
suspicious.
They kept all the lights off on the main floor. The only time there was light was when they opened the fridge door to see if they could find where my mom's purse was.
Take yourself back to a moment in your life when you have been overwhelmingly upset about something, and at the same time were trying to explain to someone why you were upset. You wouldn't quietly and reservedly convey
That's
the
what I'm trying to
events. You would
say.
likely blurt them out in a forceful and disordered manner. Your sole focus would be on processing your thoughts and conveying them into speech. The emotional turbulence of severe hysteria and grief makes it very
I'm
difficult.
confused. Didn't she say she was in the second floor? And they're downstairs and she's tied. How can she know that there's light from the fridge door? They brought her down?
To convey thought into actual dialogue, and the simple wording of a sentence becomes very challenging. Jennifer seems to be more concentrated on how she's being perceived, yet finds her words easily and executes her sentences perfectly.
One of the gentlemen asked my father if he had money in his wallet and where his wallet was. So they took me, because I was next to the stairwell, they took me up the stairs to show them where my father's wallet was, but I didn't know.
The
They had turned the
gentleman.
room upside down. I didn't know where his pants were at that time.
The intruders retrieve $1,100 from the master bedroom and then tie Jennifer to the upstairs banister.
Next thing I know, I think I heard my parents going down the stairs, and my mom was asking them for me to come with them. They wouldn't let me come with them. And
She's
after
a much
they
better
said-
actor
last
than
thing
the
I
other
heard them
dude.
say was, "You lied to us. You lied to us."
She's got the cock.
And
She's
then I
got the
heard
cock.
Smelly
Yeah.
cat, thanks for the 7 months.
The demon made her do it.
My mom screamed. I yelled out for her. And a couple more pops.
Actually, she is a great liar. We already know that, right? She fooled her parents for 8 years. So she is a great liar.
And I think I heard my mom say or moan or something, and then they did one more before they left, and then one of the guys said, "We have to go now. It's been too long." And then they ran out the door. And I think once they were out the door, I heard my dad go up the stairs, and at that point,
Jennifer has clearly gotten her story straight beforehand, yet in the next moment appears to realize how unusual it is that she was able to make a phone call when her hands were tied behind her back to a banister. She
She's like,
hesitates,
"Uh-oh."
stutters, and even looks to the detective for approval twice before she quickly moves on.
I had my phone on me, behind me, that I had hidden there that they didn't know about. So I had my phone
He looked
in
at
my
she
in
looked
my-
at him.
on me, behind me, that I had hidden there that they didn't know about. So when I thought that they had heard them all leave and my dad ran up the stairs, I whipped up the phone and I called 911. But I still hadn't heard anything from my mom, and all I could hear was my dad running on the street, just moaning and making sounds.
The detective then breaks the event down into components and has Jennifer go through each moment in more detail. The first of which is the
Oh, my
appearance of the
subathon.
intruders. Jennifer
Oh, the
now
subs.
describes the one
Hell
who
yeah,
appeared
let's
to be
go.
in charge.
Making big bucks.
The only thing I
Shit,
can remember
stop.
was him was he had dreadlocks.
Damn it.
Dreadlocks. So can you describe his race to me?
He was black.
Was his head covered? Was his face covered? Do you remember anything about that?
Just that his dreadlocks were kind of like flopping all over the place. I couldn't really see his face, and they kept the lights dark as much as possible.
Did he have a gun?
Yes.
Did you see the gun?
I only saw the top part of the gun.
What did it look like?
Kind of, it was black.
Yeah. Do you know where the other guys involved in this are?
I know one stayed with my parents downstairs.
Okay.
The other one I'm not, at that point in time, I was more focused on him, like, he was seeing me and he was coming after me.
So you're
I
saying
didn't-
there's 3 for sure?
Yes.
That's all, you saw a total of 3 at one time, you saw 3 people
Yes.
together?
Yes, when I went downstairs, I
Okay.
saw 3 shadows.
She details the appearances of the other 2 assailants, whom she asserts were also black males. The detective then brings her back to the one in charge.
Now the first guy who spoke to you, what kind of, did he have any accent? Was
None
it
that
clear?
I could make out.
Was it
Just
clear English?
English,
Unbroken?
unbroken.
No accent?
From the terms he used, I didn't get to pick up an accent, no.
The
Only
term.
short phrases.
He sounded Canadian.
I would say, yes, he was born here.
How,
He was
how does
born
she know he was
She
born
asserts that
here?
the second intruder didn't speak, while the third had a Caribbean accent. She then goes on to say she was taken downstairs for a brief moment and saw her parents under guard in the living
Did
room.
he
Her
say
father was
A?
asked where his wallet was, and he told them it was in the master bedroom. Jennifer was then taken back upstairs alone with 2 of the assailants to help them find
That's
it.
so much
They don't
fun.
find the wallet, but instead
Woo!
retrieve a pile of cash from inside the nightstand. Jennifer was then tied to the upstairs banister and left alone as the intruders went back
Upstairs
down.
And the next
banister.
thing I can hear are them telling my parents to move to the basement.
Okay?
And I'm asking them, why, where are you going? And my mom's yelling to me, I want my daughter. Why can't my daughter come too? I want my daughter.
Jennifer then hears one of the intruders yell, "You lied to us."
Who do you hear yelling, "You lied to us," or to that
Number
extent?
3.
Number 3.
To my,
How does
I'm
she
assuming
know
it's
so
to my father,
clearly?
because he was
Or
the one
remember
asking for the
so
wallet.
clearly?
Now you hear this commotion downstairs. You said you heard 2 pops. And you heard who scream? Your mom. And what was she screaming? Do you remember?
Couldn't make it out. It
No?
was kind of like a cry yell, so it was just,
Okay.
they had made the first round, or pop, and they had said, okay, that's enough. Let's go.
Who said that? Whose voice is that?
Number 1.
Okay.
And then I heard one more after that. And they were like, that's enough. Let's go.
Okay. And again, that's number 1.
Yeah.
So what do you hear next after you hear the
This is
scrambling?
so
They're
weird.
gone. Because you're
It's
hearing
like she's
no
reading
more. I
from a
gather that's how you
script.
assume they're gone, is because you don't hear it. Then you hear your dad,
I reached for my phone at
Okay.
that point.
and you call 911. Okay. When your father exits,
Yeah,
you
it
hear the
is
door
very
open.
too like
Did you hear your dog?
straightforward.
And
Like
then you
she's
just-
not
And I
even
can hear,
thinking.
like, the outside noises.
She's not
Okay.
even trying
Like the
to.
wind.
You know, I think the one thing that I realize as well is that usually when you recall events, you pause and you like look, your eyes look to a certain side when you're trying to like think and recall something, right? She's not even thinking. She's just like straight answering immediately. You know what I mean? Like there's no pausing, there's no thinking, there's no recollecting. She's just telling the story.
Coming in, and I just hear my dad, I think he's...
The same
You
sweater.
think
No,
that
this
he's
is my
sustained
merch.
some
I have
kind of injury
cats.
because he's not. You can't understand.
I'm a
what
good
he's
person.
saying.
I have cats on my sweater.
Okay.
She has nothing on
What
her
about?
sweater.
Do,
She's
do
crazy.
you, can you hear your mom?
I got my kitties on
Okay.
my sweater. I'm good.
Where does your dad go? Do you know where? You never see your dad again until when we're at the hospital. I think
She's
that's
got no
what you said,
cats.
right?
I saw him when he was on the gurney.
Is there any reason to suspect, or anything that's happened in the recent weeks leading up, that would have you guys be a target of some type
Didn't
of incident like this?
didn't the dad survive or
He
something?
lived a straightforward, kind of almost routine life.
Whenever Jennifer smiles, it takes her a couple seconds to realize she's not exhibiting the correct behavior, and she then snaps back into her solemn stare.
Too
The two
sad.
looks are so diametrically opposed to each other that it becomes glaringly obvious she's forcing one of the emotions.
What, in your opinion, would cause people to target your house to think that there was a large quantity of money?
I'm not sure.
Now, you say your mom drives a Lexus.
Oh,
It could be because of the aesthetics.
the
yeah.
Lexus.
What about your dad?
He drives a Mercedes, and he
And a
loves that baby.
Mercedes,
Is that right?
and he
The
loves that
questions end
baby.
here, and the
Why is she
detective
so
leaves the room for half an
enthusiastic
hour
about
to
that?
double-check if he needs any more information. After 15 minutes of Jennifer waiting alone, we're gifted with another performance of the startle reflex, only this time it's slightly less convincing.
Oh, that was not a good one. The first one was really good. This one's not a good one.
If investigators were certain of Jennifer's innocence, this would have been the first and last time she would have been questioned in such a manner. Police are extremely careful in how they involve victims in investigations as to not cause further unnecessary trauma. But on this particular occasion, it would come as no surprise that Jennifer's psychological well-being was of less concern. She was officially still a victim and witness, but unofficially a leading suspect. She was called back in to give another statement just 2 days later at 9 a.m. She was told the reason was to collect more details, but you'll notice that the line of questioning and the answers they attain have little to no use for anything outside of Jennifer's culpability. The actual reason for this second statement is to collect further information to use against her at a later stage. In this interview alone, they already start the process of cross-examination and start to catch her out in previous lies. Jennifer is still a witness at this moment, and the exchange is void of any direct confrontation. Yet she is still put under a modest amount of pressure, and the holes in her story start to become ever more apparent.
Holes.
Take that first interview that we had, which was, hours after what had transpired, put it aside. It's almost like we've never spoken before, okay? So we're starting afresh. We're starting from new. That way you're not going to say, I think I already told him that. Don't worry about what you've already told me.
Oh, where we
Do you,
started the
Jennifer
subathon.
Penn,
Oh, shit.
swear or declare that the evidence that you give in this investigation shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
We're going to see if we've learned or if you've remembered anything else. And there's some questions with respect to that statement that I'm going to ask you about. Okay, but I'm going to let you start again, and let's move forward from any time in that day where you want to start. If it's the time you woke up or if it's the time that your first interaction, it's your choice.
Okay, I'm very nervous, and
Why are
don't
you?
remember
Why are you nervous? Tell me about why you're nervous.
because I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Because
that day was a lot,
you're right.
and I've been scattered, and so bits and pieces are here and some pieces aren't here, and
So I want you to sit back in your chair. Okay, just sit back in your chair. Take a deep breath. Okay, close your eyes. Just follow my line. Just sit back in the chair for a second. Sit back, relax the best you can. Close your eyes and just breathe for a minute. Okay?
Breathing.
The most curious detail you've probably come to notice is this. It's known as a self-pacifying gesture. A person who does this is most often uncomfortable and sometimes fearful of what lies ahead. It's a coping mechanism to dissipate stress and afford self-assurance.
what I can remember is when I woke up, I had some breakfast.
She practices on the piano, studies piano history, plays games on her phone, and speaks with her friends on Facebook during the morning hours. Her mom leaves to visit her grandfather at around noon and returns at 3 p.m. to prepare dinner. Her father comes home at around 4:30 from work, and dinner is served 1 hour later. Her mother leaves for line dancing at 7, then returns at 9:30. Jennifer at this point is in bed talking with her friend on the phone, and her father is in the computer room. She then hears her mother loudly call out to her father.
What is she saying?
She's calling him by his name and to come down.
Okay, so give us verbatim. What do you hear her saying?
In Vietnamese, she's like, Hanoi, xuống đây.
She's clearly aware that she has to appear mournful over the subject matter, and sensibly draws out this emotion at the correct moments. Yet what's fascinating is how she's unable to maintain this emotion when inquired over the same elements. In this very moment, she appears completely grief-stricken, but when the investigator inquires further, this supposed grief rapidly dissipates. It's extremely difficult to convincingly act out an emotion while evaluating a question. It requires two completely different parts of the brain, which is why most people can only do one of these things at a time. This is exactly what you see in the next moment, and continuously throughout this interview.
And what does that translate to?
That's my father's name, Han. Come down here.
Does she say anything else associated with that?
I can't hear clearly because, I was on the phone and the TV was on,
Sure.
but that's what I heard.
Is she yelling? Or is it normal?
It's a loud, she's not yelling, but it's a loud tone.
Okay?
She then hangs up the phone with her friend once she hears the commotion.
As I'm hanging up the phone with him, I hear footsteps going up the stairs.
Okay.
But they're heavier footsteps than what is to be expected from my parents.
Okay.
Jennifer hears unfamiliar voices, so she opens her door to investigate. She has spoken for 2 minutes up to this point without being interrupted, and once again manages to build up her emotion to correlate with a supposedly terrifying event. Yet as soon as the detective interjects with a question, we once again see this emotion dissipate.
I peered out, and there was a person in what would have been my brother's room.
And where's your brother's room located?
Just a little bit down the, I could see from my doorway to his doorway, just
Okay.
a little bit down the hall.
Okay.
The first intruder then robs Jennifer at gunpoint before taking her to the ground floor, where she then sees her parents sitting next to each other.
From where I was standing, my father was sitting on the right, and my mother was sitting on the left,
Sitting where?
on our couch.
Sitting on the couch. Are they looking out towards you?
No, their backs are towards me.
Okay. And you're now on the ground level? Are you
There's
on the floor?
so much movement.
Or on the
I'm
sitting
sitting
on
on
the
the
stairs?
floor. I'm sitting on the floor.
All right, where are your hands?
They had tied my hands,
So let's
as
go.
I said.
Let's go back up to the stairs. Remember we said
Her emotional display in seeing her parents in distress gradually faded after each interjection, but you'll now see it completely cease altogether once she realizes that she made her first mistake. Everything she had said up to this point correlated with her initial statement, but she had just forgot to mention that she was first tied up before being taken downstairs, and only brought it up when reminded by the detective.
take the other statement and whatever we've said before.
No, I said it earlier.
She didn't say she was tied up earlier. She completely forgot to mention it and
Sus.
seems to be trying to convince the detective
so
otherwise.
sus.
It's a moment of slight panic, which becomes far more pronounced when you compare it to her supposed grief-stricken recollection 5 seconds earlier. The detective doesn't challenge this, as it can be used against her at a much later stage, and the main objective at this point is to collect as much conflicting information as possible.
Okay, then we must let's get back to that area. I think you might have touched on it. We went back into the description. So where do you get your hands tied, and where does the string come from?
I'm not sure where the string comes from, but he had the string.
Okay.
And after I gave him my money, that's when he tied my hands.
She is then taken downstairs where she sees her mother being interrogated by the second assailant over the whereabouts of the cash. According to her first statement, the second assailant never said a word the entire time.
He had pushed her back onto the couch, and she
Who
kept
pushed her?
number 2.
Okay.
He was pushing her back onto the couch, and she kept saying, "Where's my purse? Where's my purse?" And the guy kept telling her to sit down, and I didn't want my mom to get hurt.
How many times does she get up and get pushed back down?
I'd say she got up twice.
Has number 2 uttered a word at this point in time?
God, how does she?
I can't remember hearing him.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
how
we're
does
just
she
correcting
just
what
like
you said earlier,
correctly
because you said earlier
identify
that it was
each
number
person?
2 who was asking where the purse is, what
It's like,
the
yeah,
purse
3
is, and now
said
you've
this,
said
and 2
no,
said
it's
this, and
number
1
one
said that.
guy who would
I'm
initially
sorry. It's just,
no. It's all a purpose. The purpose here is clarifying what you're saying. So number
I
one
just
is
don't want to.
number 1 is the one who's doing the talking about the purse. Number 3 is focused on your dad's wallet. Okay.
Jennifer continues to make contradictions and is forced to correct herself multiple times after she notices the puzzled gaze from the detective. He inquires over the appearance of assailant number 2, who is wearing a hoodie
Her
according
story
to the
is so
first statement.
You
confusing.
get a good look at number 2 now of what he's wearing?
All I could tell was he had a vest, and his face was like a long.
Yeah, I
oval
think she
face.
fucked
Get a
up
vest?
by making it so
No,
detailed.
hoodie.
Okay.
Dark hoodie.
Okay. Did you see them recover anything inside your mom and dad's room?
I did not see anything. No.
Are you sure? Because when we spoke the last time, there was some mention of some other money that went missing.
I believe when they were looking for my father's wallet, they had opened the drawer, and it was in an envelope
What drawer would that have been in?
on my if you're in at the doorway where I was standing, on the left side, bedside table.
Whose side of the bed is it?
That's my mother's side of the bed.
Okay.
More than likely a total coincidence, yet she almost appears to be praying that she gave the correct response. Fortunately for her, she was correct on this occasion.
And approximately how much money?
I'm not sure how much she took out for our trip, but I can only estimate about a few $100s.
Few hundred, because at the time, the last time
Or
you told me, you were pretty adamant about
$1,100.
$1,100. So I'm curious to know how you came up with that number.
I believe because when we were at the border, we stopped at the duty free. My mother was deciding whether to use her U.S. currency or her U.S. currency or her Canadian currency.
So it was at that time you remember hearing $1,100?
Huh?
And is that the inference you're saying? Is that, because you're pretty solid saying that it was $1,100 that went missing, that was taken, and that you saw it when we spoke, and who took it, who took possession of the money.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
The detective lets the contradiction slide once more. Jennifer is then brought to the moment where the intruders had just left and she is tied to the upstairs banister.
Let's come back to now. You're being taken to the banister in the upper.
Sorry, I don't
Don't
remember.
apologize, okay? I'm going to try and ask you questions to try and clarify points, okay? If you don't remember, you don't remember. Okay, so there's no apologizing. The only reason you would apologize to me is if you lied to me.
No.
Okay,
No, it's
so
just
then in this case, then don't apologize to me. It's okay. Okay, I'm going to ask you questions to clarify points.
Okay.
You're now bound to the railing. Can you show me, can you stand up and turn around and tell me, just show on the camera, how your hands are bound? And how you are against the railing. You don't have to sit down. I just need to see how you were.
just tell you.
The only reason that I need to do this is that I'm also going to ask you is that so take this back take it out of a traumatizing event, which it is, and put yourself into a more clinical position, because I want to see how you could physically get your phone out of your waistband. We're obviously going to need to know that. It's very important. So traumatize a
I hope
way
she
now.
figured
Put
this
yourself
out.
into
Did she figure
just
this
a state
out?
of I need to mechanically show how I can get access to my phone. Okay, because that's obviously very relevant. We know you made the phone call, but questions are going to obviously raise is that if my hands are bound and I'm against the railing, how do I talk to a 911 operator? Okay, so clinically, this is now a clinical demonstration. Just stand up, focus in on how you did it.
This is the second one, Luna.
And I want you to stick that in
Is
your
that a
waistband
Tim
as an
Hortons
example.
coffee?
Okay, so
Sorry,
just take your sweater off, because this
kinda
will be a
wanted
very
Timmy's
smooth,
now.
very quick thing. It's a one-time demonstration. I'm not going to ask you to repeat it.
The two critical parts of this demonstration are where Jennifer states she was tied, and the movement of her arms as she takes her phone out of her pocket. The investigator is hoping the mechanics of the two components would be illogical and contradict each other.
I tied my upper arm
Yes?
around the banister,
Yes?
but my hands were bound together.
So
She
your hands
definitely
bound together,
figured
and
this
this
out.
is the arm that's the strings wrapped around against the banister?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now how can you get to the phone? And how do you make the phone call?
Whether it be a stroke of luck or that Jennifer had prepared for this moment, this actually made sense. Had her arms gone left or the point of restraint been below the elbow, none of this would have been possible. It's perhaps the single moment where Jennifer's statement was somewhat beneficial to her defense. We know Jennifer was tied up when police arrived, but the assumption was that she had her phone in her hands the entire time and wouldn't have had to retrieve it from her waistband. She can now argue that this portion of her testimony is genuine.
911? And do you talk down like that?
Yes, I'm yelling at the phone like this.
And how can you hear?
I turned the
Speaker.
volume on max.
Oh.
Yes? So that's exactly the way that you're talking to her against the railing.
I feel like she could have said speakerphone,
Okay, that's good enough. Sit down.
and it would have
Jennifer
worked,
is
right?
then brought back to the moment just before she heard the gunshots.
At this point, I started hearing my parents get up. and they're moving. And my mom's yelling, "Where's my daughter? I want my daughter. Where's my daughter?" And I'm yelling, "Mom, I'm here."
Here. Jennifer, take a Kleenex and
Are there any actual
Just-
tears?
take a minute.
Are
You'll
those
notice
tissues
that she
even
doesn't
wet?
wipe her eyes or blow her nose.
Does she even
just
have
buries her
tears?
face in the tissue, which the detective later testified remained completely dry.
Dry? Bruh.
Okay.
There's not even any
So
tears.
we're now down in the basement. They're down in the. You know your parents are down in the basement.
She can't even. If
Her
she's gonna
pop-
put on an act, at least learn
heard
to
my mom.
fake cry.
I
Damn.
heard her squeal.
Multiple
Sahara
pops occur
Desert over
thereafter
here.
before she hears the intruders leave through the front door.
Once the door closed, I heard my father. He ran up the stairs, and all I could hear was moaning. Yeah. Once I heard him starting to move, that's when I pulled out the phone and I was trying to call 911.
This is untrue. She only realized her father was alive midway through the 911 call. And in that exact moment, you can actually hear genuine fear in her voice compared to her fabricated panic the moment before.
Some people broke into our house and paid us all his money. And they came from my parents yelling upstairs. Ma'am, where are you? What? Avenue. Avenue Road. Yeah. Can you spell the street name for me, please? Dad?
The final part of this statement is collecting information to set up the main strategy for Jennifer's interrogation that will take place 10 days later. They go through
Sad.
Jennifer's past and
Poor
gather
parents.
intel to lay the foundation for what's known as the how and why solution, which will be explained in further detail at a later stage.
What I want to do now
She's
is
24?
I want to go into your past, okay? And start talking about things that have been going on with you.
Ah man.
The detective
Can you
now
imagine-
morphs into
can
a
you imagine
therapist,
raising
and what's
this?
fascinating is how Jennifer
Jesus.
doesn't once question the new line of inquisition. Many
So
argue
sad.
that it was the first time Jennifer was even asked about such matters, giving reason for her willingness to open up. This may have been the first time in her life she was able to process her frustrations and vent to someone who appeared to care. The first topic is her parents, and the expectations and pressures she was under to succeed, which led to her faking her grades and then her college degree as to not be a disappointment.
How did you feel about that? How did you feel about having to lie to your parents?
I felt guilty, but every time I tried to bring it up, there was just so much expectation.
Did you have any resentment towards them for this?
I chose what I chose.
You chose to
Oh,
kill
but
your
I'm really
parents,
upset
bro.
with
She just referred to the
freaking
ultimatum she was
crazy.
given by her father. The choice to live at home and go back to school, or be completely cut off by her parents and live with her boyfriend.
Oh
Information
my
gathering
God.
on Jennifer's past goes on for roughly 2 hours and 20 minutes. The detective then ends the exchange by putting her under some pressure. It's not a direct confrontation, but it's by far the most uncomfortable position she's been in up to this point. The detective subtly switches back to the home invasion and how the intruders were able to gain access without breaking in.
Like you didn't hear a doorbell, you didn't hear a door knock, you didn't hear a door kicked in, you didn't hear...
I said I was watching
No,
TV on the phone.
but-
I don't know how.
Yeah, I know. We went over that back and forth. We don't know how. So somehow they got into your house
Somehow.
by getting through your mom down on the lower level, right? Because she's the only one who's down
She
there.
was the only one down there.
So it's very confusing. Generally, random events
Mm-hmm.
are not, in most cases, random. There's a rhyme or reason why they've come to your house.
Mm-hmm.
But from what you've told me inside the house, the only thing that you hear them saying to you is they're looking for money. They're not looking for a specific quantity of money?
No.
So you're telling me that you had no involvement in what happened, meaning not saying how the outcome came, but you had no involvement in any type of illegal activity that would have drawn you or the attention of you to have bad people come to your house looking for large sums of money. You're not involved in this any which way. Because the question obviously stands, Jennifer, is you're upstairs and they're downstairs. Right? So it's a natural concern
Yeah.
when why would they leave you alone?
Why would they?
Why would they not do the same
Yeah,
to you?
exactly. Makes no sense. Like, why would they murder her parents
You
and
can't
not
answer
her?
that question?
That's
The
hella
only thing I can
sus.
say is he said I cooperated.
The,
But I asked him to take me.
the number
with my
one
mom.
guy? The number one guy said you cooperated. Okay. Who's to say this whole thing isn't a lie? That what you're telling me is a lie?
It's a lie, Your
Because
Honor.
if you are lying, it's the most cold-blooded thing that I have ever faced in my life.
True. 'Cause it is. Bro, I don't know how she keeps scrunching her face, but not a single real tear comes out of her. Craziness, dude. She just keeps scrunching her face, like it's like she's trying
There
to
is nothing
squeeze
that
her
you've said to
face
me today
for a
is a
tear to
lie.
come out, but nothing's coming out.
Now,
Cold as
back
ice.
to another very difficult question. But if I don't ask it, I'm going to be. It's an obvious one. The resentment that you may have had towards your parents for the interference in your relationship and your life, and essentially locking you down in your house.
At the end of the day, I love my parents and I chose to be
That
with
is
them.
true. I feel like
And if I
they would not
wanted
leave
to,
a
I could have
witness.
just left.
That's true.
But I didn't. I wanted to stay with them and take care of them.
Makes no sense
So
to
this
leave a
wasn't
witness.
some evil plot that you thought up to.
Oh my God, no.
No interaction, no belief, no. You didn't have anything to do with this thing at all
No.
whatsoever. You don't engage in illegal activity.
No.
Because you know that it'll be very easily. It will be a very easy thing to discredit you on, right? We're in the process of
dating
trying
a
to
drug
add credibility
dealer.
to what you tell us, and that's through
I
the
don't know,
process
man.
of asking
It's
people
kinda
and doing
sus.
whatever. Through that same process, it will be very easy to find the flaws in what you've said, which again then turns the focus back to you. Okay?
I don't.
It's a natural progress. It's a natural thing that investigators do. We eliminate people, or we draw our attention to them. It's a natural thing. It's not brain surgery. Okay?
It's not brain surgery.
The detective leaves the room for 20 minutes to allow Jennifer to stew in her own thoughts before they end
Marinate.
the statement. He comes back to add one last bit of psychological pressure that he carefully disguises as reassurance. Jennifer will leave terrified, but still believe the police are on her side.
Okay, we're done, essentially. How you feeling?
Sorry, you really scared me.
Did I? What did I scare you about? Sit down and take a load off. Tell me how you're feeling and how I scared you. I don't want you walking away from here thinking I'm evil. I want you to walking around from here thinking that this guy is helping investigate my mom's murder, and he's going to turn over every stone possible to make sure that we catch the people who do that. That's what I want you feeling. So I don't want you walking away from here thinking that I scared you, or I'm a bad man. Sometimes we have to ask very, very difficult
He's
questions.
the good guy
but
here.
it's my
You're
job.
the bad man, Jennifer. You.
You're our only link. You're it. Until your dad is back and being able to be spoken to, right now you're our only link to this case.
Her father had bullet fragments lodged in his face that doctors couldn't remove, and a shattered neck bone. At the time of this interview, the consensus was that if he did regain consciousness, he would be useless as a witness due to irreversible brain damage.
Oh.
So we may rely on you heavily until we can speak to your father. Okay? So don't be afraid. If you've told the truth, the last thing you should be afraid of is anything. If you've told the truth and you've been truthful through this whole process, then you're helping. You're doing your part. Okay? And don't be afraid of me.
I'm just afraid because, like, I know everything is just all pointing negatively right now, and I don't understand why. I feel that, like, the way you're speaking to me, it's kind of like,
Why do
I know
you care?
you said that you had to say those things, but it's here, and I've already said it
Someone who is
especially
innocent has
victims
nothing to
yesterday,
fear.
but there's, like, ideas in my head.
Yeah.
And
She's
I'm
scared
afraid to
because
say it
she's
out
scared of
loud.
getting caught.
But
Ideas about speculation of what happened? How it happened? Unfortunately, at times some of us have to point the finger, or seem like we're pointing the finger, and it really is just to provoke you to see what you're going to do, how you're going to respond. Okay? So it's only a question, and
This
it's
is
been
the
answered.
Jennifer
And if you've been
story or
truthful,
something?
okay, you have nothing to fear. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Okay?
She has nothing to fear if she's an actual victim and she's telling
Police
the truth.
kept Jennifer under close
What's there to
observation
fear?
from this point forward. A surveillance detail was assigned to track her every movement, and she was even monitored at her mother's funeral 3 days later.
that the
According to
boyfriend?
reports, she was emotionless the majority of the time, only showing what appeared to be feigned grief at certain moments. She never shed a single tear, and kept her eyes to the floor or completely shut for the
Oh, that's her
entirety of the
brother.
service. Jennifer's
Where was
father
her
had in
brother
fact
throughout all
awoken
of
from
this?
his induced coma the day prior, and
Oh, shit.
miraculously seemed to remember everything
Oh,
from the night
wow.
of the incident. He would give an official statement
Oh.
in secret on November 16th, and multiple parts of his story contradicted what Jennifer had told police. The most significant detail was that she was never tied up, but instead walking around freely and talking with the intruders as
Oh
if they were
my
friends.
God.
He actually spoke with Jennifer over the phone, but was informed by investigators to act amnesic and not to confront her, only to ask her if she thought her ex-boyfriend was behind it. She stated that she was almost certain he wasn't. The only issue with Hahn's statement was that he had suffered minor brain damage from the gunshot, which could be used by a defense team to refute his testimony in court, or even get it thrown out altogether. Furthermore, it was essentially his word against Jennifer's, and their turbulent relationship would also work greatly in the defense's favor. York Regional Police knew they needed a confession for the best possible chance at securing a conviction, so they assigned their most experienced investigator to conduct Jennifer's interrogation. She was called back into the Markham
Again.
Police Station on the 22nd of November at 2:30 p.m., a week and a half after the incident took place.
So just for the record, it is the 22nd of November 2010.
2010.
We're
Wow,
at
this is like
the
11 years ago.
5 District Station in the town of Markham. My computer right now says 2:39 in the afternoon. Okay. Just for the record, my name is Detective William Gates. You can just call me Bill here today. And what do you like to
Bill
be called?
Gates?
Jen.
He said
What do
call
you
him Bill,
prefer?
but his
Jen or
name is
Jennifer?
William. Bill Gates?
You
Anyone?
there? Okay, so
Mod
Jen,
check?
you're
Fuck.
aware that the
Bill
audio
Gates?
tape and everything's on. It's the same as last time. Okay, you've been here on 2 other occasions, I understand, on the 9th of November, and I believe again on the 11th of November. Is that correct? Okay. And do you know why we're here today?
Just the stuff.
Yeah, regarding what?
The, so what happened at my home?
Okay. And as a result of that home invasion, your father
Oh God, here we
and
go.
Dan
The
was
fake,
actually shot, and your
the fake
mother,
no tears.
Vic, Dan was actually killed. Is that correct? Yeah, you'll have to speak up a little bit just so I can hear you.
Sorry, yes.
Okay.
What's unique about this interrogator is how he immediately adopts a no-nonsense approach, yet manages to build rapport and remain sympathetic at the same time. You'll see that he has far less patience compared to the previous investigator, yet
True.
seems to create a stronger connection with the suspect. It's a hard thing to explain, but easily observed as you'll soon find out.
So that's what
Here
we're
to
going
play
to discuss
games.
here today.
He said,
Jennifer
no
this time
demons.
around has read her rights to silence rather than her rights as a witness.
No
If she
Uber.
knew anything about the law in Canada, she would be wise to the fact that she is now a suspect. Fortunately for the investigator, she remains completely naive to the situation throughout the opening phase of the interrogation, making her far more susceptible to the strategy he is about to employ.
Okay, just hold on a second. Okay, we're having technical difficulties
Oh.
here. Okay, so that's why they interrupted me. What we're going to do
Technical
is,
difficulties.
if you don't mind holding tight there, I'm just going to move my equipment to the other room. Okay, and then I'll come over and we'll move over there next door. Okay?
I'm just not comfortable being alone.
Okay, I'm going to be right here though. Okay?
With respect to interrogations, it's common knowledge that the psychological manipulation begins before a single word is spoken. The physical layout of the room is designed to accelerate the sense of discomfort and isolation, and it's fascinating to observe how each interrogator has their own unique methods of setting the tone.
Very
Knowing
interesting.
how this interrogation plays out allows us to realize this detective's procedure. The considerable distance between him and the suspect will keep her relaxed enough to be influenced by phase 1. But this same distance will
Wow.
intensify the pressure once he eventually closes it during phase 2. You'll
Very
notice this
fascinating.
detective is slow with his first strategy, but swift with the second. He takes his time in building trust and establishing rapport.
Thanks
Yet
for the 100
once this
bits,
initial
Crispy.
connection is
Chief
secured,
AKF
the transition to aggression will be abrupt and ever increasing from that point forward. Jennifer takes a seat in the room 15 minutes since she was first informed of her rights. It's important to note that she is still free to leave at any time at this point. She is unknowingly a suspect, but not under arrest.
So
She
just
can
for the
leave?
record, this room
Why is she
being
here?
videotaped and audio taped, just like the other one, okay?
I feel like her
Yeah,
being
gonna
here,
grab
which
my
is
shirt and
voluntary,
stuff for you, okay?
is working against
Okay.
her, right?
The detective goes through Jennifer's history of teaching piano and her earlier years of high-level figure
I guess
skating,
maybe she
which was
thinks
cut
because
short
she's
due to
helping the
injury.
If you didn't get
investigation
injured, would you still be
that
doing
she
it?
seems more innocent because she's helping,
Yeah.
but they're like building a case against her.
And did you, as far as that, did
Yeah,
you
that's true.
do like competition skating or? Okay. And how did you do with that?
I wasn't at the top of the pack, but I was the middle average.
Yeah, so that's good though. But you did actually enjoy it. It was more than just going for competition. You enjoyed actually doing
I was petrified of the competition.
it. Okay. All right. Do you have any students right now? Or?
No.
Okay. And why not?
The students I were teaching, they went to high school and lost interest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, too big for piano. Yeah, I took it in grade school too, but
This guy is good.
I think I went to grade 7 in it, I think. Like when I was in grade
He's
7.
like letting her breathe, like giving her a
Still
mental
remember
break
Swans on the
by
Lake.
talking about easy
play that
subjects
The
and
detective
making her
then
laugh.
goes through Jennifer's work history as a server before touching on her future plans in education. Jennifer mentions that she plans to go by her parents' wishes and pursue a career in healthcare, at which point the primary strategy is initiated: the how and why solution. The detective gradually begins to shift the blame away from the suspect and onto another set of circumstances that prompted the suspect to commit the crime. He starts developing a theme that will afford her a psychological justification in doing it, and this theme will be further established as the interrogation progresses. It starts off subtle so that she remains oblivious to the agenda.
Now, if you could pick any job yourself, I'm not talking about anybody else, but if you could pick for yourself, what would it be?
Twitch streamer. Just
I'm
kidding.
be a piano teacher like when I come home. But in the daytime, I'd like to have a simple, maybe like a lab technician job, just work 8 hours a day, and come home and teach piano.
This is an answer the detective was hoping for. Jennifer's preferred career choice is at odds with what her parents wanted, so he now builds on the concept of the overly controlling parent and the unfair limitations it causes the child. He then links this concept with the subject of Jennifer's boyfriend and how she was kept from seeing him.
Now, eventually you were discussing Daniel. What happened with that relationship?
Daniel.
I hid it from my parents at first. They didn't agree with me having a boyfriend.
Okay.
And once they found out, they didn't like the fact that he was of mixed race.
Oh.
Okay.
And they told me to stop seeing him.
Okay.
Hmm.
And how did that make you feel?
She dated him for 8 years, so she was like what, 16, all the way to 24. That's crazy.
Filled an empty void. And so it felt that a part of me was missing.
When you broke up, you felt the part was missing? Is that what you're saying?
When they first told me to stop seeing him, stop talking to him, I felt like a part of me was missing. I fell into a little bit of depression.
How did they find out?
One day when my mother came to pick me up, she saw me in the drop now
Okay. Dropped you off.
at Pacific Mall, and my mother was coming to pick me up from Pacific Mall.
Okay. And somehow they saw each other, I guess?
Oh, my mother saw me Hugging, kissing, goodbye.
Okay, that gave it away. What happened next?
I tried to bring him home. My mother at first was like, bring him home, let us meet him. And when I brought him home, they automatically didn't like him for some reason.
Okay.
And that's when they told me to stop seeing him.
Okay. So you were told to stop seeing him. So what happened then?
At first, I stopped for a while. But like I said, I just felt really empty and I felt depression.
This is called Jennifer's Solution?
I started talking
Yeah.
to him again.
Jennifer then goes on to explain in further detail how she carried on the relationship in secret and how it became more and more of a struggle hiding it from her parents.
Okay, wait, can I tell you guys a side story? I remember trying to hide like a guy that I was dating. I was like dating this guy for like a few weeks or something, and then he came over to my house while my parents were away, and we were just chilling. Like literally nothing was happening. He was just chilling with me. And then my parents came home faster than I thought they would. And then this was like when I think I was like 16 or 17 at the time. The guy's like same age as me. And then we heard the door opening. We're like, fuck, what do we do? And then it was so funny because like he ran out the back door with his socks, but we left his shoes in the front. So stupid. And we're like, and my mom was like, who dis? And then he had to like come out from the backyard with his socks, walk of shame out the front door. So funny.
How was Daniel taking it when the parents said that you couldn't see
You gotta
him?
hide the shoes. Gotta hide the shoes, boys and girls.
And how did you feel?
She then goes on to explain that she was living with Daniel at his parents' house for 2 years, while her own parents thought she was studying at a university.
And his parents were, I guess, more liberal than your parents.
His parents, they give us.
Yeah, okay. And they recognized that you loved each other.
Jennifer recounts how she bought a fake diploma for $500 to show her parents, and the many other avenues she went down to keep her lie going. She eventually gets to the day she was found out.
How did you end up back home, I guess?
They called up my friend, who I said I was staying with, in the middle of the night, and
oh no. Oh no, the alibi was broken.
So she's like, isn't she home? And I wasn't home.
Okay.
Oh, she messed up. Oh.
I don't blame her, but...
No.
Jennifer then goes on to explain the
why
ultimatum
didn't Jennifer
she was
go
given
kill
and the
that friend
restrictive
instead?
measures
She was
that
the
were
one
put
who
in
ruined
place so
all
that she
her,
wouldn't be
who
able to
ruined
see
her
her
life.
boyfriend.
So how has that felt, being under those guidelines for
the heck?
last 18 months?
I mean...
Okay, it wasn't the best
feeling. Why did she plot against her parents when it was the friend who broke the alibi? Wouldn't she have put more fault in the friend than the parents? Because she was living this whole like alternate life, right? So like if the friend who broke the alibi was the one who made her life miserable, why does she plot against her parents and not the friend? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
In the world, because I just felt like trapped.
Okay.
But it's what I chose to be with my family.
Okay. And so you made a choice between what?
Living out on my own with Daniel and staying home with my family.
Did you feel you really had a choice or not?
I mean, I'm just asking questions out of curiosity. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying, why didn't she do that instead of that? But
where do you get that belief?
Guess she doesn't care that her friend
ruined
her life.
Yeah.
The detective then brings up Jennifer's earlier assertion of being depressed, and then affiliates it with the restrictive measures she was living under.
What was the worst the depression got?
I cut myself.
Okay. And when did that happen?
Just I
Where did you cut?
on my wrist, and once people started noticing, I had it other places, but
Okay.
never twice in the same spot.
So how many cuts do you have on you?
Now, no.
Done? They've healed? Okay. And did you want to kill yourself?
Yeah.
Jennifer asserts that she tried to kill herself when she was 19 by overdosing on
19.
sleeping tablets. She also states that her self-harm was a distractor from the pain and frustrations she was going through.
Did you ever feel that they expected too much of you? How so?
Comparisons to other people.
Okay. So who
I
would they
think she
compare you
just
to?
wanted freedom chat and she thought that was the only way.
Classmates,
No.
clubmates.
She technically had the choice of freedom, but
And
she
so
wanted the
some of
money.
them have been successful recently?
She wanted the money.
Okay. And what did they say to you?
She did have a choice of freedom.
Wish you could have been that person.
Okay. So that's pretty hard, right? Hard to
She
take
wanted
for you?
both.
What I've heard all my life. Nothing.
Did you ever feel like, I know you're smart and they believe you're very smart,
Yeah, I think
but
it's
did you ever
called
feel
Jennifer's
you
Solution
weren't as
because it
smart
was
as
like
what they thought
her
that you were?
answer
I get that
to
feeling.
what was
That
offered to
it's
her.
pretty
Like she
tough
came
to
up
live up
with
to their expectations.
the
like,
C.
Your dad ultimately would
Parents
like to
gave her
see you
A
be
and
like a
B and she
doctor.
came up with C.
Those
That's
were
why
pretty
they
high
called it
standards
Jennifer's
for
Solution.
anybody. Not everybody can be a doctor. Okay? But they may have acted like you could have done it no problem. Their expectations were so high that few people would be able to reach that expectation. I'm not just talking about you, I'm talking about anybody.
Being
And it
disowned is
started
not
at
really a
young
good
age.
pick.
The detective further
Yeah, it's
explores
not,
the
but
stresses
I
of
mean-
living with overly strict parents, and Jennifer explains in further details the way she would cope, which for the most part was lying about her grades and living a double life with her boyfriend.
How did it feel having to lie to them all those years?
Really hard. Really hard. Like I wanted to tell them, but just they always looked down and disappointment.
Okay. I'm sure there were days when you actually planned that this is the day I'm going to tell them, and then
Yeah.
you just couldn't spit it out.
The opening strategy of the how and why solution has now been executed. A connection has been attained, and the desired narrative established. The next phase of the interrogation is about to commence, which is first set up by a two-step strategy. Step 1 is to induce fatigue. Step 2 is to induce fear.
Now, when's the last time you spoke to your dad?
This morning, just to see if my brother had made it into school.
And what have you and your father discussed about this case?
He just asked me if Daniel was behind it,
Okay.
and I told him I don't know 100%, but I don't think he did.
Okay. Why would he ask that?
Listen, I come from an Asian family, although like my parents are way less tiger mom and dad about stuff. And I'm sure plenty of us who are Asian or come from a very strict household can relate to her. But are you guys plotting the murder of your parents? No! That's the point, chat. Jesus!
Because
I
he
mean,
believes that
many of us have felt the pressure of parents and whatnot, but like, are you plotting the murder of your
What do you think
parents
about
and
that?
going through with it? That's freaking insane.
I know that he's
That's
moved on.
insane.
He
Insane.
wants to be with me when he's already moved on.
The detective has Jennifer go through the entire incident once more, but unlike the first investigator, offers
don't know?
no
Yeah, I don't.
reassurance
I
nor
hope none of you guys
consolation.
are, 'cause
Jennifer
that's
starts
just
fake crying
crazy.
again, yet this time is given no tissues to wipe away her non-existent tears.
Now, do you think there's any reason why they tied you up and
Please
didn't tie
don't
your
kill
parents up?
people. For no, what the heck? For any reason. Just don't. Don't do it. And don't say there's demons.
Does that seem odd? to
No
you?
demons. No
Why does
Uber.
it seem odd?
No Uber for you.
Because I was away up here separated from him the whole time.
And
I
does it
wonder
make
where
sense
her
that they
brother
would
was.
leave a witness behind? It they were going to kill somebody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's the thing that really makes no sense.
Yes,
Just thinking about it.
She got
But it
lucky.
makes sense for somebody that was going to kill somebody to leave a witness behind that could describe them.
Mm-hmm. Makes no sense.
Does that make common sense for killers?
not.
What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Gooby, thanks for the
You think that
13
was a
months.
mistake they made then?
I don't know. They kept saying that they were running out of time, and it just.
It doesn't take a long time to kill someone, does it?
I know. I don't know.
Jennifer's dramatics intensify as the discussion of the home invasion continues. She's trying to give off the nonverbal cue that she wants to move past the incident. The detective doesn't respond, but continues to go over the different stages of the night in more detail. He jumps from the beginning to the end to the middle,
Oh,
back
God.
to the end, and then back to the beginning again.
Oh,
None of this
God.
is for the purpose of information gathering.
Just to
He is
confuse her?
inducing mental fatigue as to diminish Jennifer's critical thinking. This is often done before a direct confrontation, as it can diminish the suspect's ability to consider the long-term consequences of a decision. Jennifer will get stressed and tired, not because she is traumatized by the event being recited, but because it's exhausting keeping up such an act when it's not genuine. And this
True.
performance eventually starts to dwindle and becomes gradually less convincing.
How did the conversation end with that?
I heard my mother calling for my father.
Oh, God, for 2 hours? This
I'll
is
go do this again.
Okay. When you went to bed, was your mom home yet?
She'd just gotten home, and I went down. I told Ed I'd be right back, and I
Ed?
went down. I said hi to her, and I went back up to my room.
Who's Ed?
Were you injured at all during
Oh,
the
is
whole
that the
process?
person on phone? Or Facebook or whatever she was talking to?
Not really.
Okay. Not really anything?
Mm,
Step 2 of the confrontation setup will now commence.
Ed
The detective
Monte-
employs what is known as the futility technique. He will tell
Futility.
Jennifer that he has an abundance of resources at his disposal
scare
and even fabricate much of what he asserts. He's indirectly telling the suspect it is useless to resist due to the overwhelming evidence against her.
Ooh.
Now, the reason why I'm here today, okay, is that I'm an expert, okay.
He's probably
in what we call
left to go
truth
bang
pyramid.
your mom's, what I've heard. Word
Thanks
on the
for giving
street.
a sub to
You didn't hear it from me, but it's word
The
on the
community.
street.
I talk
Thank
to
you.
thousands of people, okay, and I basically know when somebody's not being straightforward with me, okay. I can tell by the language they use, how they answer the questions, their body language, how they treat the question.
Must be
that
scary
something's
talking
wrong.
to someone like
Hey,
this.
this doesn't make sense.
The detective then gives Jennifer an 8-minute narrative on police tactics and forensic technology, some of which is embellished, but for the most part true. He then asserts that police are able to use infrared satellite imagery to see the
What?
occupants inside a household.
Hacker
This is
mans.
entirely false.
Oh,
And
shit.
basically, if people are moving
Oh,
around in
shit.
the
Hacker
house,
mans.
it's like an X-ray, okay? And basically, we're able to tell, are those movements, are those actions, that number of people consistent with the story that we've been told? Are the people in the positions that the witnesses are telling us they were in? Or are they different? Okay, and if they're different, why are they different is what our question becomes,
I
right?
think she's playing with her hair
And
because
so
she's
at the end of
nervous.
the day, okay, there's so many resources available to me that at the end of the day, I'm going to know if a person's telling me the truth or not.
The detective is now about to initiate the confrontation, but first brings the entire setup full circle by reestablishing the notions of reasoning and rationale. The suspect is fatigued and scared, but still needs to feel the detective is on her side.
Now, I can tell you that nothing surprises me in this job, okay?
He's a pro,
I am
Your
well
Honor.
aware that anybody on this earth is capable of making a mistake. Okay? I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're a priest. I don't care if they're a school teacher. I don't care what the situation is. Given a certain set of circumstances,
Jordan, thank you for the sub.
everyone has the capability, Jennifer, of making a mistake, doing the wrong thing. Okay? The key, though, when I talk to people is when they made a mistake, Okay, that's one thing, right? The key is to not keep making the same mistake.
Well,
And to
you
get
only
that
have one pair
information
of
out and get it
parents.
off your chest. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, from this case, and I can tell you I've spent literally a week on this case, going over information after information, accessing all the sources, speaking to every other expert on the case. And at this point, Jennifer, I know that you've not been truthful with the police.
Ooh,
Okay?
got told.
You've not told us everything that you know.
Ooh,
Perfect.
get wrecked and shrekted.
You've spent
Oh, he's
a
getting closer,
considerable
monk.
amount of time in the last 7
Oh,
years
it's like a stop
telling
motion.
half-truths. And I can understand why, okay? You've had a tough life.
Ooh.
What's happened to you, to me, equates to abuse. And all the stresses that you've had and forced to lie, I can understand why you did it. Okay? But you're in another situation here where you're under another tremendous amount of stress. And it doesn't feel good inside, does it? It breaks down the person that you are. Because at the end of the day, you're a good person. I know that. You've got a good heart.
She does.
In this case, though, you've made mistakes. Okay? And you're involved in this. I know that. Okay? There's no question about it.
How many caps is the detective wearing,
The
Chad?
only
How many
question
caps?
right now is, are you
5?
going to keep making mistakes? Are you going to go on the route that you've gone on over the years and try to pretend that things happen that never happened? Okay? Are you going to not face reality here? We know that you're involved. We've done our homework. Okay? We have to resolve that now here today.
Are they still trying to get like a...
I need to know from you.
They're trying to
what
get
really
like
happened.
a admittance
And
out
I
of
know
her,
why
like
this has
to
happened.
get her to admit to it.
You have spent your whole
A
life
confession.
trying
Yeah.
to live up to expectations that you can't meet, okay? And that stress the hell out of you. You're a 24-year-old woman being treated like a 15-year-old, okay? You've never done anything that terrible in your life, but you're being treated like you have. You're not being treated
What
like the
happens if they
adult
don't
that
get a
you are.
confession
Yes,
out
you
of her?
made some mistakes. Big deal. You're not the first person that has gone out and not told their parents that they're dating a guy, because in your culture they don't accept it. I understand that. I've talked to people in here that have kept that secret for their whole life from their parents. Okay, so that's not abnormal, but that puts a lot of stress on you, right? That's not easy for you, is it? No. Now, what we need to get down to here today, Jen, is what really happened. You need to tell me what went on, because you know who was in that house that night.
Is she gonna confess? I feel like she's just gonna continue to not confess.
You do, Jen. There's no question about
Is she
that.
gonna crack
okay?
down? I don't
While
know.
remaining
I actually don't
empathetic
know
and
the ending.
understanding, the detective still needs to keep Jennifer's confidence low. He watches for denials and stops them immediately. Letting the suspect deny her guilt will only increase
Pause,
confidence
champ.
and morale. This needs to be stripped away as much as possible, as early as possible.
There's no question about it. Okay?
The focus is kept from the magnitude of the crime and concentrated on the justifications of why someone would commit it.
Yes, their intentions might have been good, but they're not realistic. They're not, Dan, were they?
She's 24 here.
Jen? Their expectations weren't realistic, were they? You couldn't live up to them, could you? You tried to. Right? Am I right?
Monka.
And finally you had to bite back, right? You had no other choice. You felt like you had no other options. You thought of everything else, including killing yourself. This is Canada. We're in the 21st century.
Why did he say this is Canada?
You cannot take everything out of a person. You can have expectations for your kids, but you can't expect them to do everything the way you want. It doesn't feel good to have secrets, does it?
No. Our
You have to let
home
me know
and native
what happened
land.
here, okay? Okay.
This is
But you were
Canada.
involved.
I'm gonna start
Right?
saying that.
That's the part we need.
Chat. This is
Okay?
Canada.
We need to hear that from you because we know you were.
The detective appears to be getting nowhere, so he now lowers the gauge of admission. A confession to a lesser offense is far easier to attain, but once it is attained, can be used to build on the more damnatory elements of the case.
Damnatory.
You'll also notice that he uses broad terms that infer guilt, yet don't directly accuse Jennifer of murder.
You knew before that night that this was going to happen. I'm going to make that easy on you. That's a true statement, right? You knew before that night that they were coming, right?
Whew. I can feel secondhand pressure
Yeah.
from this.
It's not worth it anymore. It's hurting you.
Hello?
She seems to be on the cusp
Thanks
of
for
giving
giving
some
us
form
a
of admission, yet
exploding
wants
sock puppet.
reassurance as to what it means for her own sake. She asks this question 9 times throughout this interrogation. It's one of the few things investigators can't actually lie about,
What
as it's been
happens
used
to me?
countless times in the past to get a case thrown out under misdirection. They can avoid the question,
Yeah, that's
yet they
Ryan.
can't afford any false promises with respect to sentencing.
I need to know the details. I can't even say. But I can tell you one thing is that we already know, so you can't change that.
Monka.
I know you did. But it got too far ahead of you, right? You didn't think this far ahead, did you?
Mm.
But once they
No
started, once
answer
they
is
came
an
in, you couldn't
answer.
stop it, could you? Could you? Jen?
Oof. She's cracking.
Hmm? I know. Why didn't they stop for you?
Oof.
Hmm?
Hmm.
But you were part of the planning, right? You have to tell me that part, and then we're going to work through it together.
There's no way
You
she's
know
gonna
what I'm
confess
saying?
to this, right? Is she
You
gonna
didn't want
confess?
this. You wanted to stop.
She's
and you
come
have to
this
prove
far.
that
There's
to
no
me
way she's
now.
gonna confess, right?
Because at the end of the day, we have to stop this from happening to someone else, right? Jen, we're going to have to deal with it one step at a time, okay? I'm going to be honest with you. I need to know what you did.
We're not rooting for her. I'm just saying there's no way she confesses to
And then
this,
you and I
right?
are going to work through this together. Because the most important part of this whole thing is that we do the right thing for your mom. Right? I am her voice right now. I'm working for your mom. That's my job.
Oh, her poor
And I have to get to the bottom of this for your mom.
So sad.
Appealing to compassion isn't necessarily uncommon when the crime is first-degree murder, yet it can send a mixed message when a justification for the crime was a focus point early on. The detective takes his chance with it, which at first appears to work. Jennifer initially responds in a poignant manner, but you'll soon come to notice that her empathy, alongside her concern, is solely focused on herself.
But we got to start. Well, I don't know at this point. Okay, because I don't know what you're going to tell me other than that you were involved. But I
Are
need
these
to hear
videos teaching us how to be
what
better
this all
psychos?
was.
No! Why would you interpret it that
Relax
way?
this effort to live your own
It's
life,
teaching you to not
be
be
your own
this.
person, to make your own decisions. Look at all your friends. Look at all the people around you. Does anyone else have a curfew for 9 o'clock at 24 years of age? You had no choice here, Jen. I know that.
He's so good.
And
He's like
anybody else in
trying
your
to. He's like
situation would have done the exact
trying to
same
make
thing.
it seem like he's on her
The
side
only
and that
thing
he
different is I
understands.
would say that they'd have done it a lot
He's
earlier.
really just trying to get a confession out of
You would
her.
have looked for a way out. When did you first start planning this?
This guy is immortal at manipulation.
When was the final straw? What was the final straw? So that's what this is all about. Do you want to be a good person here?
Jennifer knows exactly what questions
radiant.
to answer and what
He's
ones
radiant,
to ignore.
Your Honor.
Anytime a question is non-incriminating, she gives a response. Yet when they are incriminating, she remains silent.
That's
She is
so
no doubt
telling.
feeling the pressure, but still very aware of
the
the situation
situation.
and the potential ramifications of her words.
That's why I feel like she's not going to confess.
And you know when a good person makes
She's
a
still
mistake,
calculating everything. Like,
they have
she's
to face
aware
that
of what's
mistake,
going
right?
on.
right? What do you think should happen? I don't know. You're going to prove to people that you know what the right thing to do is. That's what is going to happen.
I wonder if there's situations
That's
where,
what your
like,
mom wants right
the
now. She's watching us
suspect
here.
outplays
She's
the
wondering,
investigation.
is Jen going to make the right decision?
Is there?
Is Jen, after all of this, going to come out on top doing the right thing? I'm here for you, Jen.
Really? There's been plenty.
I'm here for your mom.
Damn.
Well, you have to tell. It's one of those situations, you know what? We know that what you did, okay? But you have to be able to explain to me what happened, okay? I can't tell you what's exactly going to happen to you.
Are there any mods? Can we get rid of the percent ban word? Yeah.
You just have to be brave here. You have to be
Thank
brave.
you.
Three hours, 20 minutes,
3
and 26
hours.
seconds. The exact amount of time it took for Jennifer to display genuine emotion. The investigator would later testify this was the first moment the suspect was being authentic. He allows her to fixate on whatever thought brought this on, and remains completely silent for just under 2 minutes.
It was blocked because of the rust drops. But we're back.
Sorry, didn't you?
Thanks, mods.
They were supposed to take you. What?
What?
Okay. So they were supposed to take the whole family out?
No, just me.
Huh?
What went wrong?
The detective now has one foot in the door. It's not an outright confession, but Jennifer has now admitted to planning the home invasion all along. And although she asserts that she was the intended target while her parents were meant to be spared, the information she has now given is enough to place her under arrest. Jennifer is no longer going home after this interview. The detective now presses for more information on the amended storyline. It's essentially step one of day one all over
Oh,
again, but
God.
from a more powerful position. He knows she is still lying, and now locks her into as many lies as possible within the new narrative.
What happened?
Jeez.
Why did it change? Okay, what do you know? How come it was supposed to be you?
Because I didn't want to be here anymore.
Why not?
Because I was such a disappointment.
Okay, you made mistakes, but nothing that couldn't be corrected. Why was it supposed to be you?
I was never going to be free from me.
Why did it happen this way then?
I don't know. I never going to be free from me. I was disappointed in everything.
Okay, but why did it have to happen this
I think
way?
she's also fake
I
crying
tried
right now.
suicide too.
What did you want done?
Harassment. I think he's just trying to, like, comfort her. I don't think he's harassing. That's
So who
weird.
did you get to do this then?
I don't know who he is.
There's no
I just
what?
wondered.
He's like doing this to like
And
calm her
what
down,
was
you know
that?
what I mean? Like comforting.
I don't memorize it.
She skirts around the questions surrounding her accomplices and gives multiple fake names. She stated that she got the number of the supposed hitman from an acquaintance named Rick, and that she took everything from there over the phone. It becomes apparent she doesn't want to give up, or even mention her boyfriend, so for the time being the detective allows her to recount her amended narrative in the manner she pleases. She gets to the moment she instructed the hitman over the phone about her planned suicide.
I told him that I wanted to be killed.
And did he think
1 second. I need to use the bathroom real quick. Quick intermission. Everybody use the bathroom. Be right back. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Be right back. Let's listen to this.
1 a.m. eyes closed. I'm
Oh my god, it's 1 a.m. right now. The East Coast.
to the music.
It's actually 1 a.m. Pog.
Now and then I feel lights fading softly all over me. And I remember last year when I was alone in my bed with all these thoughts in my head and living silently inside. It's so late in the night, my mind is drifting away. Then I dream about times I wished for a new, happier day. If a hand could reach out right now and save my life somehow, I'll face the sun again as soon as this dreary night ends. Don't wanna go down like this. My head's in a place that I don't miss. So ugly, so grumpy. Sleeping in the meantime, just stay comfy. Once everything's said and done, I know I'll be okay, I will overcome. I'm hoping, I'm here. I remember last year when I was alone in my bed, unhappy thoughts in my head, and living silently inside. Just keeping all to myself. Wished I could be somewhere else. Back when I could only hide. It's so late in the night. My mind is drifting away. Then I dream about times I wished for a new,
She's so cute.
happier day.
Little baby girl. Little baby girl.
Reach out right now and save my life somehow. I'll face the sun again as soon as this dreary night ends.
Ba 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 ba. Well, you have a new PO box since you're moving to LA. I guess I could get one. Per slaps, but I don't really get a lot of stuff from people, so I don't know if there's a point in getting a PO box. I really don't get that much stuff from anybody, so there's like, I don't know, is there a point in even getting one? How old are you? 40. I'm 40 years old. All right, here we go.
I think that was something crazy,
Are you sure that's what you want?
Juan
Welcome
and
back,
Ty.
Wendy.
Thank you so much for the 4
because
months.
I don't think many people get that request. Do you?
No, but that's what I wanted, and he asked me over and over it just to make sure I was sure, and I said I was
Yep,
sure.
I'm actually
Okay. What
50.
did you ask them to do then?
Come take me out and then leave.
Okay. Why did they do it when you were, when your parents were there then?
Never alone. In the nighttime.
Okay. So that meeting you had with Rick, you told
Who's
him what
Rick?
you wanted?
No, I just said that I
Was
wanted
that one of the
if you knew
gentlemen?
anybody who could take care of something that I needed. Just that I wanted to be killed.
And he said what?
Pickle Rick?
Here's the number.
Did he have the number with him that day?
Yes.
Okay. What did he say he would do?
He just like wanted to take care of it. Let me do me.
So your specific request to him was what?
Come in and make sure you kill me.
So he does come into the house, and you're the obvious only young girl there, right?
How dare you,
Okay.
officer? Asian
When you
don't
came
raise,
to
and I'm
your-
sure
your
her
room-
mother was just as young as her.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
What discussions did you have with the guy that came
How
to your
dare
room?
you,
The real
officer.
discussions you had, not what you
What do you
told us.
mean?
where was the money? And I showed him where the money was.
Okay. But he obviously said, I'm here to do what you asked.
He never said anything.
What did he say?
It's like hands behind your back.
Did he discuss ways with you how he would do it?
No.
Did you request any way for him to do it?
To make sure no one else was around.
Okay. Why didn't they do it the way you wanted?
I don't know. I asked them to take me with my mom when they took them away.
It doesn't seem to make sense.
I know, it doesn't make sense to me. Because I was supposed to be.
Okay. Can you sit up for a minute, Jen? Okay, look at me.
The detective
not even
wants an
crying.
outright confession, and the second direct confrontation is about to commence.
Monka.
Only this time it will be a lot more aggressive, as he doesn't have to worry as much about the suspect locking up or requesting counsel. She is under arrest and going to jail after this interrogation, no matter what.
Look at me. Okay. What I do believe is that you went to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that night you paid them the $2,000. But what's not true is it was never for you. Okay, Jen, no. Okay,
That's
you went to this
excuse my
person-
language, but that's all she paid for to end somebody's life? Holy shit, that's crazy to me. That's nuts. That is like all that's required for like someone to like that's wild. That's actually wild. Holy moly.
And you asked them to do a job. And the job was for your parents. You asked them
That is
to
scary.
do this job on your parents, Jen. Okay? Let's be truthful. Okay? Nobody's going to come there and get the wrong people. If you wanted to kill yourself, Jen, you're not going to pay somebody $2,000 to do it.
I couldn't do it myself.
Okay. But there's other ways. Okay? And if that was going to happen, they could have taken you outside and done it anywhere. It wouldn't matter, would it? If you really wanted to die, all they would have had to do is pull up beside you in a car and shoot you.
That's
You
true.
made a specific request, and the job was for your mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Nobody's going to come in there and do the wrong job. Okay? Nobody's going to do that. They came, you paid, and they did what they were supposed to do. And the plan was for your parents.
Me.
Okay? Jen, you have to be honest with it. This is the only thing that's in contention here. Okay? You made the mistake, okay? Everybody understands.
No, I don't
Everybody
understand.
in this police department feels sorry for you.
No,
I can
they
tell you
don't.
that right now. Okay? Because they've seen what you're going through. It's so obvious. Okay? That all this tension they put out, basically this is like a volcano. All right? And at one point it was just too much and you erupted, okay? And you made a bad decision. Okay? And once
Jeez,
you
if they
hired
chalk
this
this
guy,
up
there's
to
no
just a
turning
bad
back.
decision,
Now, in the original story, you said that you hid your cell phone. Okay?
crazy.
If it was for you, you wouldn't have hid your cell phone. That would have never happened. So it's in
It's
conflict.
not kidding. It's just, I put it there naturally.
Okay.
It's what I naturally do.
Okay.
No,
But
I
you
get
said
it,
on
but still.
tape that you hid it there and that they didn't know about it. That's your language, not mine, Jen. All they wanted was so much success out of you, they were not even looking at you as a person. They were looking for a success
There's no
story.
way she believes.
Instead of just
If she's
saying,
smart enough to try to be
whatever
conscious
Jen wants
of what
is
is
what's
being
good for
said,
us.
there's no way she believes him, right?
whatever she's happy with. As long as she's happy in her life, I'm happy with it. If she wants to work at Eastside Mario's for the rest of her life, that's fine. If she wants to be a piano teacher, that's great. If she wants to continue figure skating, that's wonderful. Why would somebody shoot someone they didn't have to shoot?
I don't know. I can't figure that out.
And actually not shoot the person they're supposed to shoot?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay, why didn't you tell us this that night then?
Because I was scared.
Scared of what? Telling the truth?
Yes. that I wanted to die. But
Okay,
instead,
listen, if you wanted to die, you would tell us everything because it wouldn't matter,
It's true.
Jen. If you really wanted to die, you would tell us everything because it doesn't really matter, right?
It does matter because the wrong person got hurt. And my dad is suffering.
I appreciate that's what happened in the end, but that's what was supposed to happen, okay? The good thing about this is your dad did live, and that went against the plan.
Hmm.
If you could make this decision over, you would change it, okay? You would change it, right?
Of course. If I knew he was going to get hurt, of course I would.
Jen, you knew who was going to get hurt. That's the whole issue. Okay, that's the whole issue here. You gave them the plan for your parents, right?
Exactly. She did
That's all I
know.
need to hear.
No,
Jen, you did.
no, and this is not going to go anywhere because I wanted them to kill me.
Tell me what happened.
I told you what happened.
Okay, all of it.
You did.
Okay, all you have to do is tell me right now. Bill, yes, I made a mistake.
Bill, yes, I made a mistake.
This plan was for my parents.
Nope, she's not going to say it.
The detective gets no further admission from this point forward,
she's not gonna
so he
confess to
leaves
it.
Jennifer alone for 3 minutes to play with her hair before he comes back and charges her with first-degree murder.
Well,
Okay. I need you to listen close to me, okay, Jen? At this point in the investigation, okay, I'm going to be arresting you for murder,
oof.
okay? Also attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder.
Yikes.
You understand that? Just have to tell me if you understand those charges. Just say yes or no. Yes. Okay. So what we're going to do right now is, do you have your own lawyer?
No.
No?
Oh, she doesn't have a lawyer. That's why she's...
Do you have a lawyer you would like to speak to that you know of?
No.
Okay. Would you like to speak to duty counsel?
Well, she got wrecked and
I'm
shrekted.
the one who can help me understand.
Okay, so who would that be?
I don't know.
So do you have a lawyer?
You said that you were on my side. And I was...
Okay, I am on your side, Jen. What would you like to do?
I don't have any idea what to do.
Do you want me to call duty counsel for you?
What's duty
Okay.
counsel? Is
Or
that
is
like
there
an
any other
attorney?
lawyer that you would like?
Like a public
So at
defender.
this point, you wish to speak
like
to
a
duty counsel
free. Is that just like a free
What I would have
person
to
you get?
get you to do is actually empty all your pockets on the table here.
Oh, I
I'm
see.
going to make sure that they're making a call to duty counsel, and we'll line that up, and you can speak to the duty counsel in private, okay?
They do nothing for you? Oh.
We've made a call to duty counsel, and we're just waiting for them to call back, okay? Need a drink of water or anything? What's that? I do have to go ahead and speak to these officers, but I'll come back and speak to you, okay? But we gotta take care of the lawyers, okay? That's the priority right now, okay?
The next time Jennifer would see this detective would be when he testified at her trial. It
Oh.
began on the 14th of March, 2014, and Jennifer pled not guilty to all charges. Her interrogation tape was one of the more damning pieces of evidence put forward by the prosecution. Yet the most damning were the 116
What?
text messages between her and her boyfriend in the 6 hours leading up to the murder.
Oh.
They thought using burner phones to communicate would cover their tracks, yet forensics were able to uncover the entire
Oh.
discussion just 1 month after the
How?
incident. They spoke in detail about how the crime would be carried out, and it was enough to convict them both, as well as each of the
Oh my
intruders
God.
who were linked to the crime via DNA evidence and witness testimony. They were all found guilty of first-degree murder and given a life sentence without the possibility of parole for 25 years. Jennifer Pan is now 34 years of age. She is currently serving her sentence at the Grand Valley Institution for Women in Kitchener, Ontario. She will be first eligible for parole in November of 2035.
Holy Jesus. Damn.
What about your dad?
He drives a Mercedes and he loves that baby.
Is that right?
Oh, that's funny. That's what I laughed at that too when he said that.
With respect.
Oh, when she said that, that's too funny. Oh, yeah. She was like, and he loves that baby. That's so freaking, I can't.